My name is Rob Wilcox. I am a sales engineer with Nutanix in the Houston commercial territory, and wanted to take some time to talk about something today in a little different format than I usually do. I've got some demo videos that I've put out there. I want to kind of do kind of a la one take similar to the smoking tire, except they're way more entertaining and cars are awesome. But just kind of run through something that's been in my head. I built a quick whiteboard. Just kind of want to go through some of these topics today. And it's all around the cloud journey and where things need to live. So I've had this discussion with many of my customers where we're talking about kind of their cloud journey, their life cycle. And it's just kind of a circle. We've got customers who have just started that journey. They're looking at going all in or moving certain things. We've got customers who are coming back around where certain things didn't fit right or too expensive over time in that OpEx model, and they're bringing some things home. And people, kind of in between the journey, but it's kind of a cycle that we're seeing. And so it got me thinking, because I've done some, additional internal training and some playing around with my own, demo materials. And I got thinking, what if we're doing it wrong? What if we're looking at it from the wrong perspective? And what I mean by that is traditionally we've looked at the infrastructure. What can I put in the infrastructure and why? What is it ready for? And that was one way to approach it. But now that we live in this hybrid cloud world, it's a little bit different. So Nutanix kind of started this journey with giving you the on-premise solution. It's basically your private cloud. We're going to build it on-premise with web scale architecture, hyper-converged, and we're going to consolidate those things. Management plane is simplified. And then new services came on. There's database as a service, desktop as a service. There's a bunch of security offerings. There's, I can manage my entire environment from anywhere from our cloud plane, or management plane, I'm sorry. And that was great. But then the public cloud, is a thing, and it's a pretty neat technology. It lets you move and be agile and scale. And again, you're back on that circular life cycle. So I thought, based on conversations with customers, I thought, what if we're, again, looking at it wrong? We've thought about the infrastructure. Let's think about the workload. Let's think about the application specifically and how it's consumed and how it's provisioned. And how does Nutanix fit in that world? And so I'm going to introduce Nutanix Cloud Manager. So Nutanix Cloud Manager takes all of the best, and for those of you who know what Prism Pro was, it was basically our centralized management plane. And then there was a thing called Calm, which was a application-centric delivery tool with a self-service capability. So you could go click on something from the marketplace and deploy it. It would deploy everything accordingly. So NCM, Nutanix Cloud Manager, kind of puts it all together with some other things. But these are the highlights we're going to talk about. So again, we're thinking about the workload. And so if I add my workloads, we're going to add applications, and we're going to add databases and different services to each of our clouds of choice. And traditionally, that's all, again, that's all well and good. But again, I'm trying to shoehorn things, and that includes on-premise. What if I had a tool that I could go to one place and deploy anything anywhere? And that's where the NCM comes into play and is very, very exciting. So I can provide a self-service portal to my end users, or department heads or groups or whatever flips your turtle, developers. And we can now deploy a blueprint. And that blueprint would basically be the application with all of its prerequisites and requirements. So we have, virtual machines that need to run it, OS versions, the binaries, of course, services config, disaster recovery, security, the ability to burst things to, one environment to another one. We're going to talk to the clouds natively, whether it's ours on-premise or up in Azure. So again, I can use this one tool to simplify my deployment of the application anywhere it needs to fit. So I'm not focusing on that infrastructure anymore and what I need to shoehorn in. I'm focusing on what that workload does, where it needs to live because of cost reasons, maybe it's government reasons or regional diversity. Maybe you've got some compliance or project-based systems or projects, I should say. We can move that stuff all around. And everything becomes an and, no longer an or. So I can have an application with some component living on premise still. Maybe I'm pulling some caching tier up in one, a web tier somewhere up in one of the public clouds. That's the capability that I'm that I'm discussing here with NCM is one plane, one plane to rule them all. The idea, again, is I can go to one spot, provide that self-service, deploy the application to where I'm focused on the application. And within that blueprint, I'm able to do updates. I can iterate. I can scale up. I can scale out the application, and it will tell the underlying infrastructures what they need to do. So wrapping up right quick, we have NCM. It's very cloud happy. It offers self-service deployment of applications and full lifecycle management. It's multi-cloud and on-prem. We're focusing on the application and workload versus the infrastructure that it lives on, be it public cloud or private cloud. It offers also security capabilities, cost governance. So if you want to or have a requirement to understand what your machines and services and workloads are doing and cost it back to charge it back to the appropriate cost center in your business, that is a capability that's built into NCM. Disaster recovery and security standards. So we do things via policy. There are certain security things that you have to be on our HV hypervisor or ESX. You got to be on Nutanix to run. But there are others that are elsewhere. But DR, I can use a blueprint and say I need to fail over this component to this location. I can also burst workloads. So you've got seasonal workloads perhaps that you need to scale up or scale down. So with NCM, you get this capability to manage everything in one spot. It's a cloud manager, be it on-prem or public. So I'm only using Azure and AWS as an example here. It's all well and good. I've got my on-premise. But hopefully it's a high-level understanding of what it offers, because it's a very capable tool, and it makes Nutanix makes the story a little more interesting, because as customers start to transition to a cloud model, well, hybrid cloud is still very, very relevant. That's kind of where we're seeing everybody land, because some things have to live on-prem. Legacy apps that aren't ready for refactoring, or again, a plethora of reasons that the business isn't ready to move that application. But other things might live, well in the public cloud. Pull in NCM, let it manage that for you, simplify your deployment, simplify your use cases, and again, empower your business with self-service deployment. So thanks for your time. Hopefully that made sense. Feel free to reach out to your sales teams accordingly, and I'm sure they'll be happy to show you more in the weeds detail of what we discussed today. Thanks.